How was it born? It's all Giuseppe Salietti's fault.
Okay.
Because I saw the mosaic, the copy he made of Theodora in the Accademia di Belle Arti de Helsinki. And I saw that, and I saw his name, and I saw Il Gruppo Mosaicisti. And I went to the Italian Cultural Tourist Office, found out where Salietti was, sold my paintings to finance my trip. And then I went to Marina Romea, and there Giuseppe Salietti was. Very interesting person. He has a very strong mind, simpatico, and he helped me see mosaic in a different way, a more intimate way, and I learned about the reflection of the glass, and that there's another dimension to mosaic, that is the reflection of the light in the glass, which makes it richer, and that concept is Monet, the French painter Monet. You know, he painted cathedrals, same cathedral in different lights. And I know about light because I used to be a television studio designer for programs, for a children program, by the way. And so I had to arrange lights, and light became a very important element in my work. Like, for instance, the reflections. This has a conchoidal fracture in it, you know, where you cut it, and I made them so that the fractures were big, so they make a big splash in the eye, and that splash of light and the color of the material comes together, and it goes into the brain and makes a more impactful image than just plain, you know, a flat piece of surface. And it's when you move, it's a dynamic. The mosaic changes depending on where you stand. So I took 2 summer school semesters with Salietti. I went back to Paris. In Paris, I was at the Beaux-Arts and the painting studio of Pierre Saint-Get, and I made my designs there in Paris, what I planned to make in Ravenna. And then I came back to Ravenna in the academic year of 71, 72, and I made one mosaic, which was based on the design that I had made in Paris, and the others were spontaneous. And I noticed that that people, this is not a criticism, by the way, that everybody was doing copy work, and I understood that. So it was a little, I stood out because I was making my own designs and making it, like, for instance, the Magic Horse. It's an assemblage of pieces of glass, and I put them together in a meaningful way, so that it became something more than just glass and pieces of glass. And that's one of the points about mosaic, I think, that's important to know, that you can, mosaic, the idea of working with mosaics is taking separate pieces of material or ideas and bringing them together to make a new image, new, more meaningful image. And that's sort of the way that I made this, because when I learned that I had won the position in the composition, it was very, it was scary, because I was going to make a mosaic for Ravenna. And for me, Ravenna is like that. And in terms of the meaning and the conversation that the mosaics, the antique mosaics had with the people at that time, and bringing that sort of spiritual connection between the past to the present, incorporating the ideas that I found in my earlier works together into this piece. Well, first of all, I still study science and atmospheric science, and where we are in the solar system, in the universe, and I was active in attending many lectures by climate scientists, and I collected. This is part of the mosaic, by the way, collecting scientific information and putting it into a context, a visual context. And at that time, the scientists were documenting the creeping, slowly growing effect, negative effect of climate on the climate of human activity. And at that time, they were there. It was optimism. People would change, and we could save our climate. And by saving our climate, we save ourselves. So, when I thought about the name of this, I thought that at that time we would have another opportunity to make the planet better, make it more livable. And so this was our second chance. It's the name, and this is why it's called Second Genesis. It's not a pop band. It's Second Genesis, relating to our second chance to overcome the problems we created for all life forms. And that's where the scientists came in with the idea of the tipping point, because it kept on creeping up. The disasters kept on creeping up, and they was wondering when we were going to finally start destroying ourselves. So actually, this is this is Peace Park. We talk about peace. Most people think of it in terms of war and explosions and terrible things that we do to each other. But I thought about peace that we could generate between ourselves and our relationship to the planet, because we were in a battle with the living entity of the planet. And that living entity, at least Jim Lovelock, he was an English scientist, he called it Gaia. It was the living system that we are part of. And most people don't realize it, but the air we breathe, the vegetation around us, even the soil and the animals, this is all part of the living system, and they're all integrated together. And if we can keep a harmony between human activities and the other living elements, we'll survive. So you asked me how that was a concept. I could make it any way I wanted, I suppose. But I went over my work, and this is another part of mosaic.
Yeah.
I took works that were meaningful to me, and I started putting them together, like I put together the Magic Horse. There were just a bunch of parts here, and I put it together, and this is what I came up with, and this is this was the result. And so I had the background information that the scientists had, and the sociology information, and the design, and I never questioned, I rarely ever question what I do, what the meaning, actual meaning of it, how you could describe it. And so I just made this. This is a subconscious image. It comes from the mind that puts everything together, my mind, that we all have. We put everything together. And we discover the meaning as we look at it, as we understand what it is. And so when I was making it, I was working on a platform here, and in the park, the people of the surrounding neighbors of the park and the businessmen from all over Italy and diplomats from other countries came here, and we would carry on a conversation. And since a lot of people did speak English, I could do that, and the people here, they had to suffer my horrible Italian. And so during these conversations, I began to understand what this meant. I mean, so when we look at it here, there are three different levels. This top level here is the river of life, like Heraclitus talked about. And we have to go through the river of life. And this over here, the void, is an entrance in the river of life. And it's not only an entrance, but there's a tree that develops there. And the tree the branches go up there, and there are flowers that bloom there in the tree. And in this part here is part of the landscape, the living landscape that we should have. So we walk through the river of life, and we are at the tree of life. See those red pieces of red there? Those are butterflies. There's action in there. And then we go up higher, and we see there's this thin band of silver here. That represents the thin atmosphere that we have. Actually, we don't understand. We don't get the scale of where we are, and in relation to what we're on. And so this is closer to the scale than we normally think of it. And that is beyond, see that part up there with the blue and the green, that's the living planet. And this blue here is, you notice it's down there, it's all over, it says that we are living in space. And this blue has solar systems and planets and stars in it. And then when we go into this area here, that's the atmosphere. That's the soul of the planet. And then we have over there the intergalactic clouds, and the dark blue is deep space, again with the planets and stars in it. And the gold, flashing gold, that's the animation, the spiritual animation that all living things have to one degree or another, but we have a lot of it. And where that comes from, I don't know. Maybe it's God, if you believe in God. Some people do, some people don't. It depends on the purpose of the art piece and the vision of the creator. Art is, in some artists, it's a dream. A dream, I remember I have to explain, to go back a bit. I remember I was with a friend of mine in a sailboat, and one of his guests in the sailboat was a hypnotist. And I explained to him that I could never sleep. It seems like it was just, I was always at the edge of sleep. And during the day, I was always a little tired. And he said, well, the reason why is because you dream while you're awake. And so it's the dreams of artists. They could be nightmares too, or they could be flowers and trees, but those are the dreams of artists. And that people could come in and look and sort of sink in, synchronize their mental settings and vibrations into the artwork that they're looking at and resonating to, that they could pick up the sense and the meaning of the art. You see, it was very interesting that William James, he was an he was an American psychologist in the early 1900s, and he talked about objects were batteries of information and power. It's like the chair that we sit in is a collection of energy, the energy of the man who cut down the tree, the person who sawed the wood, the person who thought about what they were going to do with the wood, and then made this. So we're sitting on energy, stored energy. So what I look for in artwork, I think along the same lines. What is the energy that was put into it? What was the energy of the mind that was put into it? And this is pretty complex. It has science and art and life and philosophy and new philosophy and old philosophy, new vision and old vision. It's like everything together was put there in front of your eyes if you could just see it. So, can art help? If people can read art, as we do when the Ravenna explain the mosaics, the famous mosaics of Ravenna, they taught that since I know how to read art because I'm an artist, I can understand what the artist says, and it takes art education. People should. It takes an educated person. I mean, not formally, but a person who's educated and looking and interpreting visual information. So yes, it can help. It can really change the direction. Well, you can see that the old Byzantine mosaics here, you can see the effect that they had on me in this piece. Well, earlier this year, I saw on Flickr a photograph of this mosaic with a man who is spread out like this. And I thought, that's interesting. Why would he walk up and do something like that? He's Italian. And then I thought of Vitruvian Man. So that was his view of this piece of work here, that this was a kind of portal into another dimension. And it just goes on out that way. So this is the spiritual portal that we can take to go wherever it is we're going to go. Really.